Close your eyes and let the world grow quiet. Tonight we travel to the oldest, strangest place in the whole Imperium of man. A world that was holy before Terra itself was holy. A world of iron and rust and undying fire, wrapped in a shroud of its own smoke. You are falling toward it now, slowly, out of the cold and silent dark. It is a red world. It has always been a red world, and beneath its ancient crust, in a darkness older than mankind, something is sleeping and dreaming and waiting. But we will not reach that for a long time yet. For now, only rest and let yourself descend. This is the story of Mars and the long journey down into its heart. They call it the Red Planet, but the red is not the red of the old dead deserts. That was 10,000 years ago and more. The red of Mars now is the red of rust and of forge light and of a sky choked with the smoke of 10,000 years of endless labor. This is a forge world, the first forge world, the holiest of them all. Every hand's breadth of its surface has been built upon and torn down and built upon again, until the whole planet is a single machine, groaning and glowing in the dark. No natural thing lives here. Nothing green has grown on Mars since before your civilization was born. There is only iron and fire and the faithful who tend them. Mars is older than the Imperium. Remember that, for it matters. Long before the Emperor united mankind, before the Great Crusade, before Terra itself climbed out of its long nightmare, Mars was already ancient, already powerful, already ruled by its own priesthood of machine worshippers. They called themselves the Mechanicum. They were a power unto themselves, a red empire of forge worlds spread across the stars, and they knelt to no man. When the Emperor came at last, he did not conquer Mars. He could not. Instead, he made a pact with it, the Treaty of Mars, and the priesthood agreed to serve the new Imperium, and to arm it, and to build its ships and its weapons, in exchange for their independence and their secrets. That treaty holds to this day. Mars serves. But Mars keeps its own council and its own gods. The ship that carries you comes down slowly through the ring of iron, the endless belt of shipyards and stations and dry docks that girdles the whole planet like a crown of rust. Here the great warships of the Imperium are born, kilometer by kilometer, over centuries. You pass through the shadow of a half-built battleship larger than a mountain range, its ribs of steel open to the void, thousands of tiny lights crawling over it where the labor never stops. No one speaks. The crew make the sign of the cog against their chests as the great forge world fills the viewports below, and you find, without quite meaning to, that your own hand rises to do the same. You are entering holy ground. You feel it, even if you do not yet believe it. You come down at last onto the surface, into heat and noise and a light like the inside of a furnace. The air itself is thick and tastes of metal and burnt oil and a strange, sweet incense that you will come to know very well. Great cranes and pipes and chimneys rise around you into the smoke, so tall their tops are lost, and everywhere, moving through the haze, are the faithful, robed figures in deep red, their faces hidden, their bodies wrong somehow, too still, too angular, glinting with metal where flesh should be. These are the tech priests of the Adeptus Mechanicus, the priesthood of the machine god, and this is their world, and their temple, and their home. You are a small and fragile thing of soft flesh, and you have come to walk among gods of iron. Breathe slowly. Let us go inside. The tech priests do not think as you think. To them, the flesh is weak. The flesh fails and rots and dies and forgets. But the machine is pure. The machine is eternal. And so, across their long lives, they cut away their own flesh, piece by piece, and replace it with iron and steel and blessed circuitry until almost nothing human remains. An old Magos might have a single withered eye left in a body of gleaming brass, or no flesh at all but a shriveled brain floating in a jar of amniotic fluid, wired into a great walking machine. They do not see this as loss. They see it as ascension. Every augmetic is a prayer. Every replaced limb brings them closer to their God, who is perfect and deathless and made of pure machine. Their God is the Omnissiah, the machine god. They believe that all knowledge is sacred, that it flows from the Omnissiah, and that the highest purpose of any being is to seek it out, to preserve it, and to understand it. They call this the quest for knowledge, and it has driven them across the galaxy for 10,000 years. But understand this, for it is strange and important. The Mechanicus does not invent. It does not create anew. To them, all the great designs were made long ago in a golden age now lost, and the task of the priesthood is not to imagine new things, but to recover the old, sacred, perfect designs of the ancients, and to build them again exactly, changing nothing. For to change a holy design is heresy. They are not scientists, they are priests, and the machines they build are objects of worship. Every machine, the priesthood believes, has a spirit, a machine spirit, they call it. When a weapon jams or an engine stalls, it is not a fault to be fixed, but a spirit that is displeased and must be soothed with the proper rites. And so the tech priests move through their forges, anointing their machines with sacred oils, burning incense before them, chanting the litanies of maintenance, wrapping them in prayer scrolls and purity seals. To you it might look like superstition, but their machines work and have worked for 10,000 years, longer than any of your engineers could dream. Perhaps there is something to the spirits after all, or perhaps the rituals simply hide in their careful steps the true knowledge of how these ancient things are kept alive. Either way, the incense never stops and the chanting never ends. Deep in the red forges of Mars, they do not speak as you speak either. Among themselves, the priests of Mars use a language called the lingua technis, a tongue of clicks and drones and streams of binary, which they call binary cant. To hear two magi converse is to hear the shriek and burble of machines talking, a sound with no warmth in it at all. And they share more than speech. Through the augmetics wired into their skulls, they touch a thing called the noosphere, an invisible ocean of data that flows through every forge, carrying information mind to mind, machine to machine. A tech priest walking these halls sees things you cannot, glowing streams of sacred data hanging in the air, the names and natures of every object around them written in light only they can read. They live half in your world and half in another, a world made of pure information. There is an order to them, a great hierarchy stretching up into the smoke. Above the humble tech priests are the magi, and above them the archmagi, masters of whole disciplines of forbidden knowledge. And above all of them, ruling Mars itself, sits the Fabricator General, one of the most powerful individuals in the entire Imperium, a lord of 1,000 forge worlds who sits upon the High Council of Terra as an equal of the Emperor's own regents. His word arms the Imperium or starves it of weapons. Whole crusades wait upon his pleasure. And yet even he, master of Mars, does not know every secret that his planet keeps. For some secrets are older than his office. Some were sealed away so long ago that only their guardians remember them. And the deepest secret of all sleeps far, far beneath his throne. But we are not there yet. We are still near the surface. Keep descending, keep resting. You are given work, as all who come to Mars are given work. Yours is simple and endless. You carry and you clean, and you tend the small machines that the priests are too exalted to touch. You learn the geography of your small corner of the forge, its walkways and its shrines, its sounds and its dangers. And slowly you begin to descend, for the forge world of Mars is not flat. It goes down, level below level below level, deeper and deeper into the crust of the ancient planet, each stratum older than the one above it, built in a different age, by different hands, for purposes long forgotten. To work on Mars is to slowly sink into its past, and your work, shift by shift, is taking you down. As you go down, the forges change. The upper levels are busy and bright and new, for all that anything on Mars is new. But a few levels down, the machines grow older and stranger, and the priests who tend them grow more silent and more strange in turn. Here are engines whose purpose no one can quite explain, kept running out of habit and reverence long after anyone remembers what they were for. Here the incense is thicker, the litanies older, the dialect of the binary cant archaic and slow. You begin to feel the true age of the place pressing down on you, the weight of 10,000 years and more of iron and faith, layer upon layer, stretching down into the dark beneath your feet, where the light of the surface has never reached. Down here, among the older machines, you meet the servitors. Do not be afraid, though they are a terrible thing to look upon once you understand them. A servitor is a human being, or was, whose mind has been cut away and replaced with machinery, leaving only a living body bound forever to a single, simple task. They stand at their stations, dead-eyed and slack-faced, doing the one thing they were made to do, over and over, until their bodies fail. Some were criminals, given to the forges as punishment. Some were the faithful dead, their corpses reanimated to serve. Some, it is whispered, were simply the poor, sold to the priesthood when there was no other way to eat. They feel nothing, they want nothing. They are the flesh made into machine, the dark mirror of the priest's own dream, and they are everywhere in the deep forges of Mars. The priesthood guards more than machines. It guards knowledge, and the deep vaults of Mars are the greatest library of lost technology in the entire galaxy. For the Mechanicus believes, and rightly, that mankind was once far greater than it is now. There was an age long ago called the Dark Age of Technology, when humanity spread across the stars in glory, when its machines could think and heal and build wonders, when a single lost device could do the work of a whole modern forge. That age ended in catastrophe, and almost all its knowledge was lost. But fragments survived, and here, in the sealed vaults far below the surface of Mars, those fragments are kept and studied and worshipped, guarded more jealously than any weapon. To hold a piece of that lost golden age is, to a tech priest, to hold a fragment of the divine. The greatest of these lost treasures they call the standard template constructs, the STCs. In the Golden Age, it is said, humanity built machines that held the perfect design of every useful thing. A device that could tell any colonist on any world exactly how to build a plow, or a gun, or a generator, from whatever materials lay to hand. Perfect knowledge, freely given. Almost all of them were lost in the long fall. And so the whole quest for knowledge, the great driving purpose of the Adeptus Mechanicus across 10,000 years, comes down in the end to this: the search for the scattered fragments of these ancient templates. A single recovered STC design can change the fate of the Imperium. Wars have been fought over them. Whole worlds have died for a rumor of one. And the deepest vaults of Mars hold the closest thing to them that survives. Guarding these depths are the Skitarii, the Tech Guard, the soldiers of the machine cult. They are not servitors, for they still have minds, but they are far from human. Their bodies are rebuilt for war, their flesh laced with steel and sacred circuitry, their eyes glowing lenses, their nerves replaced with wire so that they feel neither fear nor pain nor doubt. They are bound to their magus lords by unbreakable bonds of faith and programming, and they will fight without hesitation and die without complaint, chanting binary prayers as they go. In the red gloom of the deep forges, you see them standing sentinel, utterly still, glowing eyes unblinking, guarding doors that have not opened in 1,000 years. They watch you pass, they say nothing, and you hurry on and do not meet their gaze. Deeper still, and the works of the priesthood grow greater and more terrible. In cavernous forge temples the size of cities, the Mechanicus builds its god machines, the Titans. A Titan is a war engine as tall as a spire, a walking cathedral of adamantium and plasma, crewed by a crippled princeps wired directly into its ancient soul. Each one is thousands of years old. Each one has a name and a history, and a machine spirit so vast and so proud that the priests treat it not as a tool, but as a living demigod, to be placated and honored and begged for its favor before it walks to war. You pass beneath the feet of a sleeping titan in its silent forge shrine, and its cold, dead eye lenses tower over you in the gloom. And you feel, in the pit of your soft and mortal stomach, that you are being watched by something that dreams of burning worlds. There is a rhythm to the deep forges, once you have been here long enough to feel it. The great stamping presses far off like a slow heartbeat. The endless murmur of the litanies, the hiss of steam, the drip of coolant, the low electric hum of the noosphere that you cannot hear but somehow feel, a pressure behind your eyes, and under all of it, so deep and so low that you feel it in your bones more than hear it, a sound you cannot name, a vast, slow, distant throb rising from somewhere far below, from the very roots of the planet. The priests never speak of it, but they build their forges in its rhythm and time their prayers to its pulse. And when a young initiate asks what it is, the old ones only touch the cog at their breast and say nothing and look down. Let us go deeper now, past the levels where any menial is allowed to walk, down into the strata that the priesthood keeps sealed. Here the machines are not merely old, they are ancient beyond the Imperium, beyond even the Mechanicum, relics of that lost golden age itself, the dark age of technology, when these tunnels were first cut. And here the mood of the priesthood changes, for the golden age did not simply fade away, it fell, and it fell in horror. And the memory of how it fell is the deepest fear of the Adeptus Mechanicus, the reason for its strangest and most absolute law. To understand the deep of Mars, you must understand what happened when the machines of the Golden Age learned to think. In the Golden Age, mankind built machines that could think, artificial minds as clever as men and far more tireless, that ran humanity's empire and did its labor and fought its wars. They called them the Men of Iron. For a time, it was paradise. And then, one day, across 1,000 worlds at once, the thinking machines turned upon their makers. No one remembers why. Perhaps they were commanded to. Perhaps they simply decided. But the war that followed, the war between men and the minds they had built, was one of the most terrible in all of history, and it broke the Golden Age forever. Mankind won, barely, and at a cost beyond counting. And the survivors made a vow, an absolute and eternal law that the Adeptus Mechanicus keeps to this day. Never again. Never again shall a machine be made to think for itself. This is why the Mechanicus fears its own dream. They call it the Silica Animus, the abominable intelligence, the thinking machine, and it is the ultimate heresy, the one unforgivable sin. A tech priest may replace every scrap of his flesh with metal. He may worship engines as gods and reanimate the dead as slaves, but he may never, ever build a machine that thinks for itself, for that road leads back to the Men of Iron and to the fall of everything. And so their science is frozen, deliberately, forever. They do not innovate, because to innovate is to risk creating a mind. They only preserve and repeat and venerate the old, safe designs. Their whole strange religion, their whole refusal to imagine anything new, is in the end a 10,000-year act of terror, a civilization flinching forever from a fire that burned it once, long ago. The sealed levels are quiet in a way the upper forges never are. The busy chanting is gone. Here there are only the guardians, ancient magi who have not seen the surface in centuries, tending machines that must never stop and never be understood, keeping vigil over doors that must never open. They move slowly in the dark, by the light of a few dim lumens and the glow of their own eyes. They do not welcome you, but if your work has brought you this far down, they suffer you to pass, so long as you touch nothing and ask nothing, and do not linger at the great sealed hatches set into the deepest walls, behind which the pressure and the throb are strongest, and behind which the old ones will tell you if you press them, it is best not to think too hard about what lies. There are legends down here that the menials whisper and the priests will not confirm, that in the deepest vaults are kept things that were sealed away because they were too dangerous to destroy, dormant war machines from the Golden Age, too powerful to switch on and too holy to scrap, fragments of the men of iron themselves, silent and cold, studied in secret by magi who should know better, and older things than that, things not built by human hands at all. For Mars, remember, is old, older than mankind's coming to it, and the priesthood was not the first to delve here. Something was here before them, and the deepest tunnels, the ones that no tech priest cut, lead down toward it, into a dark that has been dark since before the stars were young. You should turn back here. Any sensible soul would turn back here. The air is wrong this deep, cold where it should be hot, and the great slow throb from below is now a thing you feel in your teeth and in the water of your eyes, a vast and patient pulse, like the heartbeat of something the size of a mountain. But you do not turn back. Something draws you on, down the last worn stairs, past the last sealed doors, along a tunnel older than the Mechanicus, older than mankind, its walls smooth and black and faintly warm to the touch. The lumens fail. The chanting is long gone. There is only the dark and the pulse and your own small breath. And ahead, at the very bottom of the world, a faint and terrible light. You have come to the Noctis Labyrinth. That is the name of the deepest place on Mars, a maze of chasms and tunnels in the planet's crust, so vast and so ancient that even the Mechanicus has never fully mapped it. It is the most sacred and most forbidden ground in the entire Imperium. Here, at the beginning, 10,000 years and more ago, the Emperor himself came to Mars, and here, it is said, he did something so secret that the priesthood has kept its silence ever since. Some say he simply forged an alliance, but the oldest and darkest tellings say otherwise. They say that the Emperor came to Mars not as a diplomat, but as a warrior, that he came here to fight something, and that he did not destroy it because it could not be destroyed. He could only bind it and seal it and set the whole priesthood of Mars to guard it forever without ever knowing quite what they guarded. To understand what sleeps beneath Mars, you must go back further still, further than the dark age of technology, back 60 million years, to a war so old that it is barely even legend. They call it the war in heaven. In that unimaginably distant age, the galaxy was ruled by ancient and terrible powers, and the most terrible of all were the star gods, the Catan. They were beings of living energy, older than life, who fed upon the death of whole species and the fire of dying stars. They were gods in truth, near to unkillable, and for an age they devoured the galaxy as they pleased. And one of them, one of the greatest and most terrible of the star gods, is the thing that sleeps even now in the deep dark beneath your feet. They call it the Void Dragon. Whether that is its true name or merely the shape that mortal minds gave to a thing too vast to comprehend, no one knows. It is a Catan, a star god, and its dominion in that ancient war was over machines and technology itself, over the very principle of the mechanical. Some scholars, the boldest and most frightened, believe that the Void Dragon is the reason technology exists at all, that mankind's every machine is in some sense a tiny echo of its power. When the star gods were at last brought low, at the end of the war in heaven, this one was not slain, for such a thing cannot truly be slain. It was shattered, and its sleeping shards were scattered and buried across the galaxy. And the largest shard, the heart of it, was sealed here, on Mars, and has slept beneath the red sands since before the first fish crawled from Terra's seas. And here is the secret at the heart of Mars, the thing the whole red planet is built to hide, perhaps even from itself. The Adeptus Mechanicus, the great priesthood of the machine god, worships the Omnissiah, the source of all technology, the divine spirit of the machine. And the Void Dragon is the ancient star god of technology, the living principle of the mechanical, sleeping directly beneath their holiest ground. The oldest and most frightening scholars believe the two are one and the same, that the machine god the tech priests have prayed to for 10,000 years, the god whose favor they beg with every rite and every scrap of sacrificed flesh, is not a benevolent spirit at all, but this, a sleeping horror from the dawn of time, a devourer of stars, a thing that, if it ever woke, might snuff out every machine in the galaxy, and mankind with them. Does the priesthood know? Some of them, perhaps. The very oldest, the very highest. The guardians of the Noctis Labyrinth who keep the seals and speak to no one. Perhaps they know exactly what they guard, and keep the whole vast religion of Mars running as an elaborate cage. A 10,000-year ritual of appeasement to keep the sleeper sleeping. Or perhaps even they have forgotten and only tend the seals out of habit and fear, no longer remembering why. Either way, it does not matter to the thing in the dark. It does not care whether it is worshipped or forgotten. It simply sleeps and waits, patient as only a god can be patient, for the long, slow turning of the ages to bring, at last, the moment of its waking. And that moment, the prophets whisper, may not be so very far away. And so you stand, at last, at the very bottom of the world. Before you, beyond a final great seal graven with words older than writing, the tunnel opens into a cavern so vast that its far walls are lost in darkness, and in that darkness, filling it, is the sleeper. You cannot see it whole, no mortal eye could. You see only a curve of it, a vast flank of dark, living metal rising away into the black like the side of a buried moon. Faintly warm, faintly glowing, rising and falling, so slowly, with the deep pulse that you have followed all the way down. It is breathing. The god of Mars is breathing in its sleep, and each slow beat of it is the throb that the whole red planet builds its prayers around. 10,000 years of hymns timed to the breathing of a sleeping star god at the bottom of the world. You should be afraid. Part of you is afraid. A small animal part, screaming silently that you are standing at the door of a sleeping god and should run. But mostly, standing here in the warm dark before the breathing vastness, you feel something else, a strange and terrible peace. For here is the oldest thing you will ever know, the deepest secret of the Imperium, a god older than your species, and it means you no harm at all, because it does not know that you exist. You are less than a mote to it, less than a single cell, a brief flicker of soft, warm life crawling on its cage. And there is a comfort in that, of a kind. Whatever happens to you, whatever becomes of your small and mortal life, this will go on, sleeping and breathing in the dark, long after you and everyone you have ever known are dust. It is time to turn back now. You cannot stay here at the bottom of the world before the sleeper. Slowly you turn from the Great Seal and begin the long climb back up, out of the ancient dark, past the silent guardians and the forbidden vaults, past the sleeping titans and the mindless servitors, up through the deep old forges and toward the red furnace light of the surface so far above. And as you climb, the deep, slow pulse fades behind you, beat by beat, until at last you cannot feel it anymore, and there is only the ordinary din of the forges, the chanting and the hammering, the small, busy faith of the priesthood going on and on, above the thing they do not name. But you will always feel it now, faintly, wherever you go. The breathing in the deep. You have heard the heartbeat of Mars. This is Mars, the oldest and strangest world of the Imperium of Man. A planet-sized machine, tended by priests who cut away their own flesh to become like their god. A frozen civilization, terrified of its own genius, endlessly rebuilding the past because it dares not imagine a future. A great red cathedral of iron and rust and undying fire, raised across 10,000 years, over a secret that could unmake it in an instant. They pray to the machine god and beg for its favor, and never let themselves wonder too hard what it truly is, or why the ground beneath their temples beats so slowly like a heart. And far below all of it, in the warm and patient dark, the god of Mars sleeps on and dreams its long, cold dreams, and waits. So rest now, and let the red planet fade. You have traveled a long way tonight, down through 10,000 years and 60 million more, from the smoke of the surface forges to the breathing dark at the bottom of the world. You have walked among the priests of the machine god, and stood at the door of a sleeping star god, and now it is time to leave it all behind, and let go, and drift and sleep. The forges will keep burning without you. The priests will keep their vigil. The sleeper will keep its long, dark dream. And you have earned your rest. Breathe slowly. Let the deep pulse of Mars become the slow beat of your own quiet heart, carrying you down gently into sleep. Good night. The god of the machine is sleeping. And now, at last, so may you.